Hi, Ava. Aren't you going to come home yet? It's almost time for dinner. I'm sure your daughter Dora wants to have dinner with her mother as well.
Huh? Are you trying to make me come home by bringing up Dora? That's called bullying your son's wife. You need to respect me more because I'm being kind enough to let you live with us.
I don't really need you to live with me, though.
I guess so, because you don't have any illnesses and are still of the age where you can still work just fine.
If you understand, then would you please stop making me take care of Dora for you all the time?
What?
It's always me, her grandmother, who sends her off and picks her up from kindergarten. She spends most of her time at home with me as well.
Of course she does, because I'm asking you to take care of her.
That's not what I'm trying to say. Her father usually comes home by 5 in the evening, but you always come home after Dora's already gone to bed. Don't you think that not spending time with your 5-year-old daughter could be a bad thing for your relationship with her in the future? Not only that, but I don't know where you go off to from morning till dusk, but it seems that you're spending a ton of money.
What? You have no right to call me out on that. Speaking of which, I'm actually very busy. I can't come home yet, so make sure Dora takes a bath, eats dinner, and goes right to bed, all right?
Huh? Hold on. Just what time do you intend on coming home? Tell me that at least.
I don't know.
Ava!
I'll end the conversation here then.
Jesus, will you please stop messing around?
Hi, Mrs. Tate. Are you home yet? You have it so easy going on a trip 3 days with your second son's family.
The main purpose of the trip was to do an interview for work, and I only brought my second son's family because they also had something to do with work.
An interview? That doesn't make sense. So, are you home yet?
Yes, we just reached the front door.
Go to your room immediately.
Huh? All my stuff is gone, and in its place is this supposed to be a child's room?
That room is going to be Dora's room from now on, so leave the house, will you?
What? Me? You're telling me to leave the house?
Yes, I am. Do I have to repeat myself?
Where did you put all my stuff?
I threw it all away.
You threw it away? Even my computer and printer?
Of course. Those are just your toys, right? It doesn't make sense for me not to throw them away.
I use those for work. What have you done?
What are you talking about? You don't even have a job, right?
Huh?
You see, Mrs. Tate, have you noticed that it's been 3 years since we started living with you?
I don't know the exact amount of days, but I remember around 3 years ago today my son Desmond suddenly brought you and Dora to my house and said, "Please let us live with you."
Huh? What do you mean, let us live with you? Don't you mean that we offered to live with you?
What? The company Desmond worked at suddenly went bankrupt, and he could no longer support the family, so you 3 would live with me until he found another job. Was the situation right?
Huh? Ew! You're so delusional. The only reason Desmond changed jobs was because he found a better paying one. It also just happens to be that his new office was near your house, so we were kind enough to move in with you. But even after that, you show us this huge attitude all the time, even though you're just a parasite that depends on Desmond to get by. It really touches on my nerves, you know? Don't you realize I'm giving you a job to do by making you take care of Dora as a way to repay what we're doing for you? That's why I finally decided to exercise my authority as the oldest son's wife and take your room away from you. This is to show you how lucky you were that Desmond offered for us to move in with you. The parasite's garbage needed to be cleaned up, you know. And finally leave.
What are you going to do about Dora? Is there someone else that's going to take care of her?
I'm going to invite my mother to live with us from now on. So, there aren't any problems regarding that. Actually, she's already here. By the way, the guest room is now my mother's room.
Is that so?
I'll say it one more time. Parasitic trash like you needs to be cleaned up and thrown away. Please just hurry up and leave.
I understand. I'll clean up, all right?
Oh, look at her now. You're going to clean yourself up, the garbage, by yourself? I mean, go ahead.
There's one last thing I want to tell you, though. You've barely spoken to Desmond these past 3 years, right?
So what if I haven't?
I heard that whenever Desmond tries to find time for the two of you to talk, you always brush it off and ignore him. You should realize that by kicking me out, you've made your position a very dangerous one.
Huh?
Well then, I'll be seeing you at a later date.
Mrs. Tate! Is it seriously true that this house used to be your parents' house and you've been the owner since you inherited it 10 years ago? And that when you were on the computer, you weren't playing games, but actually working as a freelance worker? And that Desmond has been trying and failing to get a job these past 3 years? Which is why you've been paying for our living expenses all this time?
Yes, it's true. You've got something wrong with Desmond, though. It's not that he hasn't been working at all these past 3 years. He found a job at a temp agency and worked as a temporary employee for a while, but the pay was so low that he couldn't possibly support his family with it, which is when he noticed that he has no skills that would make him attractive in the job market. That's when he decided to get a national license and quit his job at the temp agency, and he started studying while working part-time. Thankfully, he was able to pass the exam. He was able to find a new job immediately thanks to his new qualifications, but, to his dismay, that company also went bankrupt 3 months later.
Huh.
Just yesterday, though, he was finally able to have some good luck. A friend of his who started his own business contacted him saying he was looking for someone with the exact same qualifications Desmond had, and so he hired Desmond. A few days earlier, Desmond told me that he was finally able to get a job that paid well. I gave a sigh of relief at that, but now for some reason I've been kicked out of my own home by his wife.
No way. This is the first I'm hearing this.
I told you yesterday, but Desmond would always try and find time to talk to you, but you would always just ignore him, saying that it was a hassle. I do think that me and Desmond are partly to blame for what happened, though, since we always just let you get away with it. By the way, how's Dora?
She keeps asking me where her grandmother is. Even though my mother is also her grandmother, Dora won't listen to a word she says. She just barely listens to what her father Desmond says.
I told you that not spending any time with Dora, who's only 5 years old, might negatively affect your relationship with her in the future, right? It seems that that's what's happened.
But then what are you saying I should do? I have no idea what to do with Dora. Mrs. Tate, what is this invoice you sent me? I don't have $100,000. I'm just a housewife.
But that's the money you owe me for breaking the tools I need for work. It's the computer and the printer you called my toys. $100,000 is probably cheaper than what it's actually worth. Luckily, the data I was currently working on was backed up. But since my computer was thrown away, I'm no longer able to meet my deadlines. Desmond offered to pay for it, but I refused his offer.
Why?
If someone bails you out of this situation, this wouldn't have taught you a lesson. By the way, both your mother and your father, who's currently abroad on a business trip, agreed to making you pay for the damages. I always wondered what you were doing while you were off somewhere, making me take care of Dora for you. Apparently, you were always at your parents' house in the neighboring town and just laid around looking at shopping catalogs. I thought I would tell you because of your excuse of me bullying you is not going to work with your parents anymore.
No way. I was divorced. Desmond let me off without making me pay an alimony, but he says I have to pay him child support every month from now on. I regret what I did, so why don't we just forget all about this? I oppose us divorcing.
But didn't you sign the divorce papers yourself?
I only did so because Desmond pressured me to. Please convince Desmond to get back together with me. Have a bit of sympathy for me.
Well, I do understand why you people don't want to get divorced. You probably would have divorced Desmond without a second thought, though, if he was unemployed like he used to be. But now he's found a new job for sure this time, and he's going to be earning as much as he used to 3 years ago.
I know that.
Thinking of divorcing a woman who sees my son only as an ATM is the right choice. Which is why I have no intention of helping you.
But, fine. If it's come to this, then I'm not going to leave this house no matter what you do. I'll consider leaving if you let me get back together with Desmond and forget about the $100,000, though.
Oh, I forgot to tell you. I've already sold that house.
You sold it?
I mean, it's already 70 years old. It doesn't look like it, but it's already falling apart in some places. I was debating whether to reform it or to sell it, but I decided selling it would be a better decision for me.
No way! My mom's telling me not to come home.
I'll give you until the end of this month, so hurry up and prepare to leave, all right?
I have nowhere else to go. Why is no one helping me?
I decided not to help Ava in any way except for giving her time until the end of the month to move out. It seems that she interpreted what I told her in a different way, though, since it didn't look like she had packed her stuff even when it was the night before she was supposed to leave. Desmond, who had finally had enough, forcefully threw her out of the house after noon that next day, since she refused to leave. Of course, I couldn't let Dora see her parents like this, so I handed her over to my second son's house, where I'm also temporarily staying. Desmond was able to get custody of Dora, so it seems that I'm going to be helping him take care of her at my new house we're moving into next week. As for Ava, who is now on her own, apparently she was able to find a job that came with housing. She got into trouble with the other employees on the first day, though, and since she can't just quit, she now spends every day being treated coldly by her fellow employees, always working on the verge of tears.